7 bone-chilling encounters from Deep Appalachia that haunt today at midnight. The clock strikes 12, and a thick mist blankets the mountains of Appalachia. The air, heavy with secrets, carries whispers of lost souls and unexplainable encounters. This is where shadows stretch longer, and every rustle in the leaves sends chills down your spine. Local legends speak of 7 extraordinary encounters, each more haunting than the last, that keep even the bravest heart awake at midnight. Imagine stepping into a moonlit clearing where the trees grow gnarled and twisted. Just last year, Tom Daly stumbled across what he described as the witching hour's echo. He swears he saw the silhouette of a woman dressed in white, her hair flowing like smoke. Her voice, soft and melodic, called his name, pulling him toward the dark thicket. But just as he reached out, she vanished, leaving behind only the thick scent of lilac and a sense of unease that gripped him tightly. Then there's the tale of the phantom wolves. They say on serene nights, their howls can be heard echoing through the valleys, distant yet close, like an ancient song. Sarah, a single mother, and her young son were camping one summer night when they felt cold breath on their necks. Heart racing, they looked around only to find a circle of glowing eyes watching them from the shadows. She recalls her son shivering, clutching her hand tightly, as the pack went eerily silent, their howls morphing into a bone-chilling laughter that still haunts her dreams. Even the local fisherman, old Jim Clark, has a story whispered with tremors. He was out on the river at dawn when a thick fog enveloped him. Suddenly, the water started bubbling, and from its depths emerged a creature unlike anything he'd seen, part fish, part human, with shimmering scales and a haunting gaze. Jim can't shake the feeling that the creature was warning him, perhaps of the dark history buried below the riverbanks. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the tales go, a haunted house stands at the edge of town, earning its reputation from the unnerving sightings of lights flickering at odd hours, and shadows moving past the windows when no one is home. People say it's a gateway to another realm, where lost spirits linger, whispering secrets of the past that seem to seep into the soil itself. Just waiting for the next curious explorers to wander too close, these stories echo deep in the Appalachian hills, pulling you in like a dark siren-esque call. You can almost taste the fear, the courage, mixed with a sense of wonder. What really happened that midnight? What secrets still lie hidden within those mountains? What will the next encounter reveal? The clock is ticking, and the midnight mysteries of Appalachia are just beginning. The wind howled through the trees, a mournful sound that carried echoes of the past. As the darkness deepened, whispers fluttered in the air, growing more pronounced with each passing minute. In the small town of Millstone, people were preparing for sleep, but others huddled close, hearts racing as they shared stories around flickering campfires. They spoke in hushed tones, cautious not to summon the unseen forces lurking in the night. Jenna, a curious girl of 17, listened with wide eyes as the tale of the flickering house surfaced yet again. They say if you knock 3 times and call her name, her friend Greg said, glancing over his shoulder, the woman in white might appear. Jenna felt an electrifying mix of fear and excitement tingle through her veins. Unlike her friends, who scoffed at the legends, she believed. There was something enchanting about the idea of bridging the gap between this world and the next. One night, fueled by a wild combination of bravado and youthful curiosity, Jenna decided to seek out the haunted house herself. With only a flashlight and her gut instincts guiding her, she slipped from her home, her heart pounding like a drum. As she approached the old Victorian structure, a sharp gust of wind caught her, causing her to shiver. The house loomed above her, its windows dark like empty sockets. The stories were true, the place felt alive, pulsating with energy. Brushing aside her doubt, Jenna stepped gingerly onto the creaking porch. It was almost as if she could hear the walls whispering, urging her to turn back. Shaking off the sensation, she took a deep breath and knocked 3 times on the warped door. A moment of silence followed, thick and pregnant with anticipation. Then she called out, "Isabella." The only response was the sudden flicker of the porch light, casting wild shadows that danced in the corners of her vision. Jenna's breath hitched. The door creaked open, revealing an empty hallway that stretched into darkness. She couldn't turn back now, the darkness was calling her inside. With her flashlight slicing through the gloom, Jenna ventured deep into the house, the air growing denser with each step. And then she heard it. A soft, sorrowful song, haunting and melodic, floated towards her. It tugged at her heartstrings, pulling her toward a door at the end of the hallway. Jenna's pulse quickened as she did the unthinkable. She pushed on the door, its hinges groaning with age. Behind it lay a room bathed in dim light, and there she saw her, a figure in flowing white, standing by a cracked mirror. The woman looked up, her expression a mix of sorrow and longing. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice like a breeze rustling through leaves. Jenna's heart raced, a lump lodged painfully in her throat. "Isabella?" she whispered, feeling an overwhelming sense of both awe and terror. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. Shadows flickered faster, racing along the walls. Jenna took a step back as the woman raised a hand, her fingers trembled. Was she reaching out for help or warning her away? Then, the mirror began to cloud, revealing faces of those who had encountered the house before, a parade of terrified expressions, frozen in time. Jenna stumbled back, fear gripping her like a vice. Just as she turned to flee, a deafening crash echoed through the house, shattering the uneasy silence, and with it, the fragile boundary between the worlds. What had she unleashed? In the moments between her rapid breaths, could she still escape the echoes of those trapped souls? The clock struck 1, each chime amplifying the echoes of dread. And somewhere deep within the shadows of Appalachia, something stirred, ready to reclaim what was lost. Jenna stumbled, a wave of despair washing over her as fear coiled tightly around her chest. The room spun, the shadows looked alive, shifting and crawling toward her like a tide of darkness intent on pulling her under. She glanced at the woman in white, whose face seemed to blur amidst the frantic flickering of the light. The air was thick, suffocating, and with every breath she took, the scent of damp earth and decay filled her lungs. The crashing sound echoed again, vibrating through the very bones of the house. It was more than just noise, it felt like the house itself was groaning in anguish. Panic poured into her mind, drowning out thoughts of escape. She had come for answers, but now only questions filled the air. What happened in this house? What had they summoned? "Isabella, please, what do you want?" Jenna's voice was barely audible, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The woman's gaze seemed to soften, a flicker of recognition in her sorrowful eyes. But before Jenna could process it, the world behind the mirror twisted, revealing more faces, distorted screams and hollow gazes that glimpsed back at her through the hazy glass. "What do you see?" Isabella's voice cut through the ghostly whispers. A tremor ran through her, as if she was both powerful and vulnerable. "People, trapped." Jenna breathed, her pulse thrumming wildly in her ears. "Help me," Isabella begged, a tear slipping from her eye, cutting through the ephemeral glow of her figure. "End their pain." A flash of desperation ignited within Jenna. The stories had spoken of a curse, but they never explained how to break it. How? She cried, feeling a bond, a connection with the tortured souls surrounding her. They were not just whispers in the dark, they were lives, histories pleading to be recognized. "Get the mirror," Isabella whispered urgently. "Return what was stolen." Jenna's courage faltered. The mirror. It now seemed the centerpiece of this haunting play. But how could she even get close? The shadows were shifting again, forming into shapes that seemed to mock her fear. She took a step forward, compelled by a force stronger than herself, and suddenly, the room shimmered. The faces in the mirror twisted, frozen in anguish, and Jenna felt an invisible tether pulling her toward the glass. A gust of wind swept through, extinguishing her flashlight. The darkness was alive now, pulsating aside her racing heart. But it was in this moment of sheer terror that a small flicker of determination ignited within her. Whatever lay ahead, she wouldn't leave without uncovering the truth. With trembling hands, Jenna reached for the frame of the mirror, feeling a jolt of energy pulse through her fingertips. Suddenly, shrill screams erupted from within the glass, and the entire house trembled in response. Images collided chaotically in her mind, visions of a past steeped in sorrow and betrayal. Before she could think, the mirror shattered, a rain of glass cascading down like icy raindrops. The sounds within the glass grew frantic, drowning out Isabella's harmony. No. No. This is not the way. Isabella screamed, her form flickering wildly as shards of memory flew through the air. And then, darkness engulfed Jenna as the fragments cut into her skin, igniting a pain unlike any she had ever known. She fell to her knees, gasping for breath, feeling the weight of the lives she'd awakened pressing down upon her, but in that moment of despair, a flicker of light emerged from the shards surrounding her. With every heartbeat, it pulsed brighter and stronger, hope surged through her veins. What was she meant to do with this light? Jenna! A distant voice called, breaking through the chaos. It sounded familiar, a draw from the world outside, and just like that, Jenna was torn from the mirror's grasp, pulled away from the cursed room. But at what cost? Outside, a heavy fog enveloped Millstone, swallowing the town in an eerie silence. Jenna was left wondering what had she unleashed on the world. As shadows danced in the fog, darkness loomed large. Jenna's heart raced with unanswered questions. The struggle was only beginning. What would happen when dawn broke over Millstone? As the clock ticked toward 2, the air crackled with tension. Hidden forces began to align, and Jenna realized only she could confront whatever was waiting in that flickering dusk, and they would come for her. Jenna gasped for breath as the chill in the air stung her lungs. The silence of Millstone enveloped her, pressing down with an intensity that made her skin crawl. She stumbled away from the house, her heart pounding louder than the distant caw of a raven perched on a gnarled branch. It felt like the world around her was holding its breath, waiting. The fog thickened, swirling in ghostly patterns that teased at the edge of her vision, threatening to pull her back toward the dark embrace of the cursed mirror. Was it too late? Had her actions already set in motion forces beyond her comprehension? The light, what was she meant to do with that flicker of hope? She raised her hands, still trembling from the shards embedded in her skin. Each drop of blood seemed to pulse with a rhythm, a reminder of those trapped within the mirror. They were counting on her now. Just as she turned her back on the house, a whisper slithered through the fog. "Help us." The voice was a melody of pain, high and desperate. Jenna froze, her breath hitching in her throat. Who was asking? Isabella? She called, scanning the fog with wide, frantic eyes. But the only answer was the rustling of leaves in the trees, mocking her vulnerability. Suddenly, a chill ran down her spine, and she felt eyes upon her. Turning, she caught a glimpse of a silhouette through the thick mist, tall and gaunt, with features shrouded in shadow. The figure moved slowly, deliberately, gliding toward her with an unnatural grace. "Come back." It beckoned, its voice a haunting echo, wrapping around her like a lover's embrace turned cold. Jenna's instincts screamed for her to flee, but a wave of sorrow washed over her, intertwining with curiosity. "Who are you?" she whispered, though her voice almost broke beneath the weight of fear. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face twisted in anguish, eyes that seemed to hold centuries of regret. It was a man, his skin pale against the darkness, and a heavy mist surrounded him like a shroud of despair. "I was once like you," he murmured. "Searching for truth, but some truths come at a terrible price." "What do you mean?" Jenna's chest felt tight, every inhale a battle against the suffocating dread pooling around her. "They want freedom, but freedom is no gift." He paused, glancing back toward the house. "You must decide if you're willing to pay the price." With every thud of her heart, Jenna felt the weight of his words sink into her bones. "What do they want from me?" His laughter was hollow, echoing against the trees. "Everything you are willing to give." Before she could digest his warning, the ground beneath her shifted, and a low growl rumbled from deep within the forest. Something was stirring, awakened by the chaos she had unleashed. A rustling erupted, and figures began to emerge from the fog shadows that twisted and morphed into grotesque forms. She could see their hollow eyes, their mouths opening to reveal gaping darkness. Fear gripped her like a vice. Jenna turned to run, but the shadows surged forward, closing in around her. Panic surged, threatening to drown her. What had she done? Just as she stumbled back, the light from the mirror's shards surged through her like a beacon, bright and promising. It pushed against the encroaching darkness, forming a barrier between her and the horrors that craved her spirit. "Jenna, you can't hide." The figure screamed, and with that, the shadows lunged, their intentions clear. With a last burst of resolve, she raised her trembling fingers, laced with glimmering shards. "I will not be your pawn," she shouted, the words tearing from her throat as her heart surged with the light of the awakened souls. As the shadows recoiled, their screams filled the night, a symphony of rage and sorrow echoing through the fog. Jenna knew then that the confrontation had only begun, and the line between salvation and damnation was blurred in the depths of Millstone. Her breath quickened. "I need to find the source before it consumes us all." But in that moment, a chilling whisper left her lips, haunting the night. "What is the price, truly?" And with the dawn still a distant promise, Jenna stood on the edge of something far darker than she could ever imagine. Would the truth save her, or would it seal her fate? The shadows writhed, their forms shifting and twisting as if they were made of liquid night, eager to swallow her whole. Jenna's heart raced, each beat drumming in her ears, urging her to escape. But where could she run? The fog was thick, and every direction led back to the darkness that drew near. The figure remained a ghostly sentinel, watching her with those hollow eyes that sparked a flicker of recognition deep within her. "You must confront them, Jenna. Only then will you understand the true nature of this curse," he urged, his voice cutting through the chaos with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "Confront who?" she yelled, desperation coloring her words. The shadows were close now, their chilling whispers weaving through the air, beckoning her to join them, to become one with their despair. "Don't let them take you," the man warned, stretching a hand toward her, his fingers trembling. "You can harness the light. You must remember who you are." In that moment, Jenna felt a surge beneath her skin, a warmth that flickered like a flame against the chill penetrating her bones. The shards, still embedded in her hands, began to glow brighter. The pain transformed into something empowering, a solid reminder of her purpose. Those souls trapped in the mirror were counting on her to break the cycle, but could she truly face the shadows? Could she stand against the very darkness that had stolen so many? "Find the heart of the curse," the man urged again, his ethereal form flickering. "But tread carefully, one wrong move, and you'll be lost." Before she could respond, the shadows lunged. They were everywhere, their claws reaching for her, voices rising in anguished shrieks that echoed the torment of the countless souls who had come before. Jenna felt the weight of their sorrow, pressing down, begging her to surrender. Instinctively, she raised her shimmering hands, the light bursting from her palms like a sun breaking through a storm. The shadows recoiled, hissing and writhing in pain. "Back," she screamed, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "You will not take me." But as she pushed forward, a chilling truth settled in her gut. The light would not last forever. It was a temporary measure, a flicker of hope against the unrelenting tide of gloom. The mist began to swirl violently around her, a tempest of shadows that howled with fury. If she was to locate the heart of this malevolence, she needed to find a path through the chaos and fast. Each thud of her heart sounded like a countdown, intensifying with every passing second. "No!" the figure shouted above the din, but the words were lost in the cacophony of screams. He reached forward, trying to pull her back. "You must go to the cellar, the answers lie beneath." The ground shuddered as Jenna turned towards the looming silhouette of the house, dread clawing at her throat. The cellar? It was down there, hidden beneath layers of darkness where all the secrets of Millstone lay buried. "Go!" You have to. The man cried, desperation lacing his plea. The shadows were closing in again, their cold fingers just inches from her skin. With a final surge of defiance, she sprinted toward the house, the light flickering in her hands like a beacon in the night. Echoes of her laughter twisted into wails behind her, but she pushed through the swirling fog, fueled by determination. As she reached the door, a heavy weight settled on her heart. What awaited her in the darkness of the cellar? Would she find the answers she sought or be consumed by the very shadows she fought against? With the door creaking open, its darkness inviting yet foreboding, Jenna stepped inside, knowing this was only the beginning of her reckoning. The weight of the truth lay heavy on her shoulders, urging her deeper into the unknown, and as she descended into the abyss, a chilling thought echoed in her mind: what if the truth is worse than the shadows themselves? Jenna's breath echoed loudly in the narrow stairwell as she descended into the cellar. The flickering light from her hands cast eerie shadows on the walls, distorting the jagged shapes into ghostly figures that danced in the dark. Every step downward felt like a plunge deeper into despair, and her heart pounded against her ribs, an urgent call to flee, yet she pressed onward. The air grew colder, almost stinging, sending shivers racing down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. It was a suffocating presence, an unsettling reminder that the shadows she had escaped were still close, still watching. "Remember who you are," the man's voice echoed in her mind, giving her a momentary surge of strength. But the shadows whispered back, their voices seeping through the stone walls, a chilling chorus of lost souls. "Join us, become one, embrace the darkness," she gritted her teeth, forcing her focus back to what lay ahead. The cellar was dimly lit by her light, revealing old crates stacked high and cobwebs hanging in thick curtains between the beams. The overwhelming smell of damp earth and mildew overwhelmed her senses, but something else lingered, a faint metallic tang that sent her senses on high alert. A soft scratching sound broke her concentration, pulling her attention to a corner of the cellar. Her light flickered, casting a spotlight on a shape slowly shifting in the darkness. Jenna's stomach twisted into knots. Was it a shadow or something worse? Determination anchored her feet as she stepped closer, the light illuminating more of the figure. The shape morphed into something she recognized: an old mirror, its surface cracked and speckled with age. Jenna approached cautiously. As she got nearer, the shards in her hands pulsed gently, resonating with a peculiar warmth. She reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing against the mirror's surface. Suddenly, dark tendrils burst forth from the cracks, curling around her fingers and dragging her closer. She fought back, yanking her hand away just in time. The mirror's surface rippled, and her reflection disappeared, replaced by a swirling storm of memories, anguished screams, and the faces of those who had been lost to the darkness. "No!" she gasped, stepping back, but she could see glimpses of their torment, flickering images of the people who had vanished, their mouths open in silent screams. Each face was a reminder of the pain she sought to liberate. The weight of their suffering bore down on her. It felt as if the darkness itself was inhaling her resolve. She chanted a mantra in her head: "Find the heart, expose the curse." Her voice trembled as she clutched the shards tighter, the light pulsating brighter in her palms. The shadows hissed around her, clawing at the edges of her mind, but she fought back, pushing through the despair. The mirror pulsed again, and she saw a figure flash across its surface, a child, wide-eyed with innocence, lost in a labyrinth of darkness. "Help me," a voice whispered from within the mirror, a plea that sent cold chills racing down her spine. She spun around, panic swelling in her chest. The cellar seemed to pulse with energy, shadows swirling, threatening to reclaim her. Jenna's heart raced. She realized her fear was becoming her weakness. She needed to harness the light and confront the truth. "It's not just about you," she told herself, the shadows thrumming with a dark laughter as if mocking her resolve. "It's about them." With renewed determination coursing through her, she turned back to the mirror, ready to face the horror within. But as she stepped closer, the ground trembled beneath her feet, echoing ominous warnings. What would she find on the other side? Would she discover the heart of the curse, or would the darkness trap her forever, bound to the cries of the lost? The air thickened, and the shadows converged with a furious intensity. She inhaled sharply, knowing the moment had come to confront her destiny. But at that moment, a voice not her own whispered through the darkness, "Are you willing to become one of us?" The choice hung heavy in the air, and Jenna's heart raced. What would she sacrifice to break the curse? Jenna's heart hammered in her chest as the shadows pressed closer, a suffocating wave of darkness that threatened to engulf her completely. The voice, the haunting whisper, echoed in her mind, a promise and a curse intertwined. "Become one of us." It lingered, a strange invitation that sent chills skittering down her spine. She shook her head violently, the motion almost frantic. "No. I'm here to save you, not to join you." Her voice trembled, barely recognizable against her rising panic. The mirror pulsated again, and she felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Desperation surged through her, the faces of the lost swam in her mind, each anguished scream pulling her deeper into their despair. Her fingers tightened around the shards. With a grunt, she raised them high. "I want to let the darkness take me." In an instant, the air crackled with energy. The mirror reacted, light fracturing through the air, illuminating the cellar's depths. Faces from the past emerged around her, swirling in the light, their expressions desperate and pleading. Jenna caught sight of familiar eyes, friends, loved ones who had vanished into the night, their hope mingling with her own. "Help us!" they whispered as one, their voices merging into a haunting melody that tugged at her heart, but another presence swirled around her, cold and dark. The shadows began to writhe, shifting like smoke, forming a figure just beyond her line of sight. Its features were obscured, but Jenna could feel its malice brush against her skin, an icy grip that made her blood run cold. "You think you can save them?" the figure rasped, a voice that came from everywhere and nowhere, wrapping around her like barbed wire. "You have no idea what it means to wield the light. Embrace the darkness. Let it consume you, and you can join the lost." Jenna staggered back, eyes darting from the mirror to the creeping figure. She could almost hear the weight of the souls trapped in the glass, their muffled cries echoing in her ears. Did they truly want release? Or had the darkness twisted their desires? Her mind reeled, wavering on the precipice of fear and resolve. "No!" she shouted, shocking herself with her own determination. "You're lying. You want to keep them trapped, just like you." With her heartbeat roaring in her ears, she extended the shards towards the mirror, channeling every ounce of light and strength left within her. "I will break this cycle. I will free you." The darkness recoiled, its form flickering, but behind it, the mirror began to glow intensely, illuminating her surroundings with a brilliant white light. It washed over the walls, trembling like the flutter of wings, calling out to the lost souls behind the glass. The screams became more fervent, but now they were not cries of despair, they wrought with hope, pleading for salvation. Suddenly, a shrill scream pierced through the cacophony, a sound that twisted Jenna's stomach. It was a warning, a shriek that echoed with terror. The figure lunged for her, dark tendrils reaching out to grab her, and Jenna braced herself as an overwhelming force knocked her to the ground, the shards slipping from her grasp. The mirror cracked, splintering under the tremendous pressure of their combined energies. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Jenna's breath caught as she gazed into the fractured reflection, and she saw not just herself, but the faces of those she loved, merging and breaking apart in the chaos. As the figure stretched toward her, her heart ached. "I want to let you take them," she screamed, scrambling to her feet, but the shadows surged forward, dark whispers clawing at her resolve. "You cannot escape us." The ground beneath her faltered again, threatening to open up. Creativity, clarity, and fear wrapped around Jenna as she felt the pull of the darkness. In that fragile moment, she understood. It was no longer just about saving others, this battle would determine who she was meant to be. With newfound resolve, she lunged for the shards, ready to confront the darkness once and for all. But as she clutched the glass, a horrifying truth washed over her. All the souls trapped inside were not just victims, some were waiting for a chance to escape, willing to do whatever it took, even if it meant dragging her down with them. Every choice had a consequence, and as the cellar shook violently, she realized she might have to make a sacrifice she never expected to face. Would she allow her spirit to be consumed in the process? And more importantly, what awaited her beyond the mirror's final fracture. Jenna's fingers trembled as she gripped the shards of glass, staring into the fractured mirror. The faces of her loved ones twisted in agony, their eyes pleading for release, but shadows danced insidiously along the edges of her vision. The figure loomed larger, an ominous presence that thickened the air around her. "Embrace the darkness, Jenna," it hissed, its voice becoming a swirling chant. "You'll gain power beyond imagination. You can save them, or you can save yourself." "No," she screamed, shaking her head fiercely, but doubt gnawed at the edges of her resolve. The shards glinted in the light, a stark contrast to the encroaching void, yet Jenna felt as if they were weighted with a truth she dared not acknowledge. In that moment, the whispers of the trapped souls grew louder, threatening to drown out her thoughts. "Join us," they implored, a collective echo that filled the cellar like a mournful song. Jenna pressed her palms over her ears, trying to block out the cacophony that threatened to rip her apart. "You can't save everyone." The shadows shrieked, their words sharp as daggers. "Join us, Jenna, and we'll make you one with the memory of your pain. Together, we can escape." She gasped, the chilling possibility wrapping around her heart. What if this was an escape? But would saving them mean losing herself? Her chest tightened, the weight of the decision pressing down like a heavy cloak. With a surge of determination, she raised the shards again, feeling the light crackle through her veins. "I want to let you win. I am not afraid of the dark." Her voice rang out clear and defiant, and the energy shifted. The mirror shivered, absorbing her resolve, but then, a laugh erupted from the figure, cold and mocking, slicing through her strength. "Have you forgotten so quickly, Jenna? You alone cannot defeat us. The dead are already among us." The shadows thickened, swirling like a storm waiting to break. Jenna could feel them coiling around her ankles, pulling her back towards the abyss. Before she had time to react, they reached for her, seizing her wrist with an icy grip that threatened to crush her bones. Panic surged, igniting her instincts. "No!" she cried, using every ounce of strength to yank her arm free. The shards glinted, and an impossible idea formed. Maybe she didn't need to fight alone. What if she could combine their strength with her own? "Listen to me," she shouted into the storm. "If you truly want freedom, help me break this curse. I need your voices." The moment hung pregnant in the air, as if time itself held its breath. For a heartbeat, the shadows paused, indecision flickering through their swirling forms. Their whispers softened to an eerie, almost curious murmur. "Join us or perish," the dark figure growled, its voice dripping with disdain, but Jenna pressed on, eyes fierce. "No. Together, we will rise. We can break down this mirror of despair." The glass quivered beneath her resolve, a deep glow radiating from the center. Glimmers of hope sparked within the depths of the darkness, the faces of her loved ones shining through the veil, each one a beacon battling against the shadows. Yet, as the light began to expand, Jenna felt the ground tremble beneath her. Something was awakening far below. The mirror pulsed with a light that was almost blinding, whispering promises of freedom and sacrifice. Could she trust them? The shadows hesitated, caught between her offer and the chilling grip of the abyss. Jenna knew she had to make a choice, and fast. The darkness surged back, fiercer than before, its desperate hunger straining against her gathering light. "You cannot hold us back," it roared, and with that fury, the ground beneath her cracked wide, threatening to swallow her whole. "Help me!" Jenna cried to the faces in the light. "I need you now more than ever." But just as the trapped souls seemed ready to answer her call, a tremor ripped through the cellar as the mirror glowed brighter, drawing all into its radiance. The shadows flared in response, coiling tighter, revealing their true form, an insatiable hunger that wanted to consume everything. As the intensity peaked, Jenna felt one last surge of energy flow through her. It was do or die. She had to decide if she would plunge into the light or let the darkness claim her. Heart in her throat, she prepared for one final act, a leap into unknown depths of light or darkness, knowing that either path might lead her to an unimaginable truth. Was this the end, or simply the beginning? The light engulfed her. For a split second, the world around Jenna transformed into a whirl of brilliant colors, blinding her with its intensity. It was a beautiful, dazzling escape, a reprieve from the shadows that threatened to consume her. The faces of her loved ones shone brighter than stars, and Jenna felt warmth spreading through her, a comforting embrace after the bitter cold of despair, but just as quickly, the warmth receded. That inescapable chill rushed back, wrapping her in tendrils of ice. From the depths of that blinding light, a piercing scream echoed, reverberating within her chest. It wasn't just any scream, it was the cry of a soul trapped in agony, lost in the darkness. As the glimmer began to fade, Jenna found herself suspended between two realities, the mirror on one side, and the shadows on the other, each holding her fate in their grip. "No!" she yelled, fighting against the pull to the shadows. "I won't let you take anyone else." Her words hung in the air, a desperate threat against the raging storm of despair gathering around her. But the shadows laughed, a cruel cacophony that echoed around the cellar, growing louder, mocking her defiance. "You are weak, Jenna. You are nothing." Jenna gritted her teeth and concentrated on the brilliance of the light. "I am not weak. I will not be a pawn in your game." Suddenly, she felt it, a flicker beyond the darkness, a connection to those she had lost. A warmth surged through her hand that still clutched the shards of glass, as the whispers from her loved ones blended with her determination. "Together," she whispered, the word pulsating through her very being. "Together." With that thought igniting a fire within, she held the shards tightly, focusing her energy on the faces that appeared in the glimmering light. "Give me your strength. Break the chains that bind you," she shouted, her voice blossoming into a fierce shout that echoed back at her, shattering the mocking laughter. The mirror responded. The glass trembled violently, its surface rippling like water disturbed by a stone. The faces in its depths began to crystallize, emerging as luminous figures that advanced toward her, resolute and profound. They stretched out their hands, connecting with Jenna's as the energy swelled. Yet the shadows retaliated, thrumming with fury. Dark tendrils lashed out, striking Jenna and her newfound allies like serpents, their icy grasp seeking to separate them. At that moment, Jenna's chest tightened with fear, the sudden realization the darkness would do anything to rip them apart. "No!" she cried out, feeling panic rising. She squeezed the shards tighter, feeling that energy coursing through her arm as if it had a heartbeat of its own. "We are stronger together. We will break free." The light exploded from the mirror, cascading like a waterfall of hope, filling the cellar with radiant energy and dispelling the shadows momentarily. But with each burst of light, the darkness surged, clawing back, trying to reclaim Jenna, trying to weave her into its web once more. Jenna felt herself pulled in both directions, the light inviting her while shadows hissed with angry whispers in her ears. Each breath was a moment of torment, every pulse of that darkness a countdown to an inevitable clash. In that moment of decision, everything she had fought for coiled within her, a fractured tapestry of moments and memories, sorrow and love. Suddenly, the ground shook violently again, forcing Jenna to her knees. The mirror behind her fractured even further, and she could hear the cries of those trapped within. They were terrified, and in that chaos, confusion threatened to swallow her. "Make a choice, Jenna." A sharp voice sliced through the chaos, one that carried the weight of countless lives. "You can be the light that saves us all or the void that consumes." Those words weighed heavily upon her heart, the truth echoing in her mind. Could she wear the mantle of hope? Or would the darkness drag her down into despair? Eyes wide, she looked at the mirror, at the shadows creeping closer, their clawed fingers stretching long like blackened vines. Jenna had to decide before the darkness could claim her forever. What path would she choose? Would she dive into the light or succumb to the void? And what would it take to unite her fractured world? With resolve swelling in her chest, she lifted her chin, meeting the encroaching shadows. The true test was just beginning. Jenna tightened her grip on the shards of the mirror, feeling their cool strength against her palm. In that moment, clarity pierced through the fog of despair swirling around her. She refused to let the darkness define her. This was the moment to stand firm, to choose light over shadow. Together. Her voice echoed powerfully against the walls of the cellar, each syllable carving out a path through the overwhelming uncertainty. We will break this curse. The shadows growled, their growls filling the air with a rancorous vibration. Jenna could sense the spirits trapped within the mirror, rising, fracturing free from their torment. Their voices mingled with hers, creating a crescendo of longing and defiance, urging her to press on. Embrace us, Jenna. The dark figure urged, its voice a sinister melody that sent chills down her spine. Join the darkness. Jenna shook her head fiercely, determination igniting within her. No. I choose to fight. I fight for you. She lunged forward again, shards of glass glowing fiercely in her hands. As she thrust them toward the encroaching shadows, a blinding light erupted, piercing through the depths of despair like sunlight breaking through clouds. The shadows screamed a sound laced with rage and desperation. Jenna felt their icy tendrils recoiling, flailing against the heat of her light. The radiant energy intensified, wrapping around her like a protective cocoon, urging her to harness the combined strength of the souls behind her. Remember. She called to them as their features swirled in the brilliant glow, phantom figures of those lost but not forgotten. Remember who you are. The fearsome darkness surged closer again, snapping at her heels. It was a tide of despair relentless in its hunger. But Jenna would not let it overwhelm her. The light coursed through her, a living force alive with love and hope. You are not alone. She roared, giving everything she had, each word a thread sewing their fates together. In response, the mirror behind her cracked open wider, its surface radioactive with energy. The lost souls merged, crossing the boundary into the light, their joy rippling through the air. The bond was palpable, an electric surge that ignited Jenna's spirit. Together. They echoed her, their voices a harmonious choir lifting the darkness from every crevice of the cellar. Shadows screamed again, their fear palpable as they twisted and writhed in the overwhelming brilliance. Jenna pressed into the light, into the unity of their souls. The incandescent force radiated outwards, pushing against the shadows, against the sinister figure that loomed larger with every heartbeat. And then, she felt it a pull, an energy reaching deep within the very core of the darkness, tugging at her heartstrings, begging for her submission. A momentary flicker of doubt lapped at her resolve. What if surrendering was the key to survival? Would she truly be saving anyone? Stop! She bellowed, squaring her shoulders. You win. We're more than fragments of despair and darkness. With that, Jenna summoned every last ounce of energy, sending a brilliant flash of light surging toward the figure. It collided with the shadows, illuminating the entire cellar in radiant glory. For the first time, she felt the cool grip of fear lessen, replaced with a warmth that spread through her heart. No! The figure howled, rage distorting its voice as tendrils of darkness curled back in agony. This is not the end. The mirror shattered, shards slashing through the air like rays of light, radiating freedom. The echoes of souls trapped within erupted into the open, becoming vibrant, living entities once again, each face transforming into radiant light. As shadows receded, Jenna watched in awe. The writhing darkness collapsed into itself, refusing to stand against the tide of light. The arcs of swirling figures twirled around Jenna, their faces smiling as they surged upward, reminding her of the love that had anchored them all. Thank you, they whispered in unison before merging into a radiant glow that washed over her, leaving trails of warmth and gratitude. With every glimmer that faded, Jenna felt lighter, freer. The gravity of despair that had pressed so heavily upon her heart began to lift, like mist dissolving in the morning sun. With each soul she saved, a weight fell away. The bonds remained, but now they were threads woven tightly together by courage and hope. As the last remnants of darkness fizzled into nothingness, Jenna stood in the silent cellar, eyes wide and heart racing. She had faced her demons. She had chosen the light. She had become a beacon of hope for those who wandered in despair. the dawn's first light crept through the broken window, casting soft shadows across the cellar walls. Jenna stepped forward, still holding the shards now radiant in the morning light. They reminded her of battles fought and truths embraced. She knew Millstone would heal, as long as she and the townsfolk remembered the importance of facing darkness together. In that moment, she made a vow. She would share these stories, ensuring that the echoes of those lost wouldn't vanish into time. They would live on, a powerful reminder of the choices made and the paths forged. Leaving the cellar behind, Jenna emerged into a new day, heart steady, spirit strong. The mountains of Appalachia stood proud as ever, whispering the tales of the past in the breeze that rustled through the trees. Together with her town, they would remember always. As she stepped into the light of a new dawn, a thought shimmered vibrant in her mind: the power of the past is never gone, it lives on through love. And she smiled, knowing that the darkness would never win again. Now, if you've loved this journey as much as I have, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And seriously, flood the comments section with your reactions about this epic conclusion. I want to hear your theories and feelings about what just happened. Let us connect. Wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.